Hi, this is Michael Johnson, and this is Conversations. Now, today we have someone real special with us, but before we get started, I want to talk about the Herbalife Family Foundation just for a second. You know, Mark Hughes founded the Family Foundation with the idea to help children at risk throughout the world. Since 1997, when Mark started the Casa Herbalife program in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, we've had the good fortune to reach out to over 50 orphanages throughout the world to create the Casa Herbalife program. We're very proud of this. It's part of our image, which is really something that's special to us. You know, when I speak around the world, I talk about our products, our business opportunity, the building of a wonderful brand, use, wear, talk, our Herbalife, and our image. And the image part of our company is what we do to give back to our communities. It's in our vision, mission, and values. We feel very proud of it, but we think it's a very important part of what we do here at Herbalife. We don't think any company can live righteously in today's world without giving back to their communities. So today I have a very special guest with us, a gentleman who comes to us from both Orange County and South Africa, Orange County here in California, and South Africa, where he started the Acres of Love program down there. And Acres of Love is an orphanage, and it's now many orphanages, and I'll let Ryan tell the story here in just a second. But it encompasses a Casa Herbalife program. We were touched in 2006 when a group of us went there along with the Chairman's Club and Founders Circle to Acres of Love in Johannesburg, and we were touched by the children, the outreach, what they do, and I'm going to, of course, let Ryan Audagnotti, and I hope I get that name right. Ryan's a great guy. You'll feel his wonderful personality in just a minute. But welcome, Ryan, to Conversations.
Thank you, Michael.
It's a real pleasure to have you. With that long warm-up, you probably got a little idea of where we're going today. But as I do in every show and every person that we talk to, tell us a little bit about you. How'd you get here, your pathway to life? Obviously, you're one of these people whose heart is bigger than his wallet, which is great. You know, you've given so much to society and given your time and your money and your efforts. But tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got here.
Michael, well, first of all, I want to thank you for this time, this opportunity, and thank you to the corporation, to the foundation, and to the distributors. It's really, I guess we are in a strategic alliance and we're solving a critical problem. And it's a problem that's not going to go away, but it's a problem that we can solve in our lifetime. Well, my wife and I are passionate about kids anyway. I've got 4 of my own.
And how old are your kids?
I'm 26, 23, and then 20, and then I've got a daughter that's 13.
So you're still a parent.
Yes.
I mean, you're always a parent, but you're still parenting.
Yep. And so we've always really had a passion, and when we would go on vacation, my wife would read books about the plight of orphans, particularly in Russia and in countries like that, where we just were astounded by their plight. But then we were more astounded by the institutionalization, which created a bigger problem. So these were kind of the husband and wife things we spoke about. And then in 1998, we got to a stage in South Africa where we saw the impact of AIDS and HIV. We literally saw people dying on the streets, and then we realized that families are disintegrating and they can no longer care for their kids. So the orphan crisis became paramount. Well, both my wife and I went through the stage where we were sort of wondering why the world isn't doing something about this. Where is the government? Where are the institutions?
So you're asking others.
Yep. And we went through that kind of like angry stage where it's everyone else's problem. And then one day, this still voice inside me said, well, what are you going to do about it? And that point of accountability was the catalyst that moved my wife and I to say, well, what can we do?
You're living in South Africa at the time.
Right.
No connection to Southern California at all. So this is back in the 90s.
Correct.
You grew up in South Africa.
Yes, I grew up in South Africa. My great-grandfather came from Torino, Italy. My wife's side of the family were French Huguenots who fled the persecution in Europe and came to South Africa.
When you grew up in South Africa, you lived in an apartheid nation. So you saw the side that was not as positive as you'd want it to be.
Correct, but we lived in the bubble. You know, when we went to school, we didn't connect the dots. When we went to the beach, we saw the signs, whites only. And we were told that black people don't swim in the ocean because they can't swim. They don't like the water. And when you look at all the textbooks and the newspapers and the indoctrination that went on, we were living completely in isolation to the reality of life in South Africa.
When did all that break down?
It broke down probably just before they released Mandela. South Africa reached a point where it was on the edge. We saw, the civil war coming.
And how old were you when Mandela was released?
I was, it was 1994. So
you were a man. I mean, you had lived, worked, educated in South Africa, and then the world changed dramatically.
It dramatically changed. I mean, we were in the financial planning field, and there was a lot of fear. The currency completely collapsed. People were moving their money, their wealth out of the country. There's enormous fear. I remember you couldn't go to a restaurant and not overhear a conversation about the bleak future that was there, and a lot of fear. And people just were
not well-founded fear.
No, but a lot of it was propaganda. Bombs were going off in the streets, and we were told it's the communists and it's meantime, it was internally orchestrated to bring division in the country and put the ANC in a bad light. These are all the things that we discovered after the fact.
Right.
Even after they released Mandela, there was a very rocky stage. There was talk about complete nationalization. And I remember the big business leaders getting together with Mandela, and then he came out and said, no, they're going to continue with capitalism, and which is really incredible, because you look at our economy now, we're really a beacon. Tourism is the biggest industry now, above gold and above diamonds.
And isn't that great?
It's tremendous.
So let me move you forward then. So your wife and you see this plight in South Africa. You see this AIDS epidemic out of control. You see children with children of AIDS down there, and what happens? You start to blame everyone.
Blame everybody,
and then you start to take
action. What can we do about it? And so we, the little we had, we read this book called Acres of Diamonds, written by Dr. Conwell, and Dr. Conwell started Temple University in Philadelphia and the Temple Hospital, and he came out of the Civil War. What I loved about that book was he said that I had a dream to start a hospital, but all I had was one patient and one nurse. And he said, but I started my hospital. So my wife and I said, well, we have a dream to help and rescue these babies. What do we have? We had a home that we were renting out. We had sufficient cash flow in our business, so we could actually hire. And we went to the government. We asked them for permission. We got a license. And literally my son, my wife, and friends of ours went to a hospital where there were 50 babies abandoned in a ward there.
Explain abandoned. I mean,
moms came in, couldn't afford to even have abortions, gave birth, and left them in hospital and walked away. So there were 50 babies in this ward, and the social workers, because in South Africa the government social workers can only rescue. Our social workers can't go in and actually rescue, which sometimes is just heartbreaking, because we know of situations and abuse going on, but we can't be proactive in actually dealing with that. But so they had 6 babies ready with paperwork, and we walked out of that hospital with 6 babies. So
to where?
To my home. And,
so
and we're sitting in
the home that I've been to.
No, that was the home we were living in. The home that you went to was the home that we originally built that we were now renting out. So the tenants moved out. We put in bunk beds, but the 6 babies came from hospital into the home that I was living in. So you can imagine, these are 6 black babies, and we are about 10 Caucasian folks sitting there looking at each other thinking, what are we doing? What have we let ourselves in for here?
And you're in a upscale neighborhood.
And we're in an upscale neighborhood.
And the neighbors?
The neighbors were incredible. They marveled, and in fact the neighbors became volunteers. The neighbors became adoptive parents.
So you opened up their hearts too.
Yep.
The Acres of Love has a better meaning, a bigger meaning than just the book.
A friend of mine said, well, what are we going to call this work? And I distributed this Acres of Diamonds book to everybody, and they said, well, why don't we call it Acres of Love? And that's how we actually said, okay, that sounds good.
So from this suburban home, we'll take you from this, you brought in 8?
8, yeah.
8 premature kids, or 8 just babies born? I mean, there were 8.
Some of them were prem, some of them were full-term babies, but they were all infants.
And a lot of your babies have AIDS, right?
I would say, yeah, about 60% of the kids in our program now have HIV.
Are HIV positive.
Yeah.
And so you start here, and what year was this?
1998.
1998.
Yeah.
And that is 12 years ago. Where are those kids today?
Some of them are with us.
Still with you?
Yeah.
In school,
Yep.
being educated, clothed, fed,
Yep.
loved.
In fact, there's a documentary on one of the girls, Sipo, who's with us, who was part of the original 8 babies. And she's got an incredible story. So that's, yeah, we have a full documentary on her life that brings it up to date.
So did you have any idea what you were doing when you walked out of that hospital?
No, we were just very passionate, and we just wanted to make a small difference. But it's just, like I say, it's that one small step, you see. Now, all the help has just been the journey of our life, you know, which has just been the generosity of people like yourself, like the Herbalife Foundation, like the distributors, coming alongside and saying, we love this model program. How can we help you? And we had to figure that out. So December of that year, 1998, I was down on a wine estate with one of my clients, and the day after Christmas we went horseback riding, and the horse that I was on ran away with me, and I was almost fatally injured. Ended up with my diaphragm was paralyzed, my right lung burst. I injured, you know, I was in ICU for 14 days. And the reason why I'm telling you that is because that experience was really a near-death experience that I went through. And when I came out of that, that was the catalyst that got my wife and I to move to the US. That was always a dream we had. We have a special needs son, Gareth, and we realized we need to, you know, California is a special place for special needs kids. And that had always been a dream of ours. So coming through that near-death experience became the catalyst to get us to move to the US.
But it didn't lower anything that you were doing in South
fact,
Africa. In fact, it increased it.
Exactly, because when we got to the States, we started sharing people about where we're from and what we were doing. And when they heard about these 8 kids that we were looking after like an extended family, and in those days we had 24-hour care, people coming in shifts, and so we've actually advanced our model program a lot.
Right.
And so this has become a lifetime quest for me. It's been a mission, and I'm building a bridge between the resources that are here, that are vast, and the needs that are there.
Wind us forward from 1998, when you brought those 8 children home from the hospital, to 2010. How many kids are under roof, and how many roofs do you have?
Well, at the moment, we have 185 kids in our day-to-day care.
185 children have been rescued.
Yes, yeah. And well over 600 have been rescued.
600 have gone through the
and
process of some sort.
Correct, and they're now adopted. They live all over the world, in Germany, Sweden, Belgium, the US. Today I saw a photograph of 2 kids that live in Virginia. And the boy was in a full baseball outfit. He was practicing.
You must get the most incredible letters and emails and whatever of any human being on this earth, of gratified people who you've saved their lives.
And you know what I've learned is that where you are born doesn't determine who you become. Every one of us have got unlimited potential. We just have to have somebody who believes in us, somebody who will...
You sound like an Herbalife distributor.
Good.
you sound the story. So the story, and I'll try to make it quick, is when I was being introduced by this priest in our Casa Herbalife program in Rio, he told a story about a great fire in the Amazon, and all the animals fled to the water's edge because that's where they were going to survive. They were going to use the protection of the water, and a little bird went out into the water, scooped up some water, and all the animals said, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to go put the fire out." And they were laughing. How could a little bird have such an effect? Just one little tiny bird with a few droplets of water put out a raging forest fire. When other birds started to follow. And soon all the animals formed a production line of water to the fire. And the fire went out. You're the little bird. You're one of these people who comes along with an idea that starts in its own humble way and convinces others to follow them. We see this day in and day out in our business world. We see a distributor who, signs up to become an Herbalife distributor, and that person has in their mind that they're going to help people with nutrition. They're going to help people lead better lives. It could give them some financial independence, start small, hopefully get big. Yeah. And what you've done is the same story in the image side of our company, which we're so proud to be part of you. Are there other little birds coming along? Are there other people that you can see doing these type of things around the world? Can you give us faith and confidence that the lessers are being taken care of by the mores?
Yes, I can. And I've got great optimism. Look, first of all, I believe there's unlimited help. Actually, right now, we live in a very interesting period in history. I mean, financially, there's unlimited funding. And if you look at technology and how the world has become flat, and our ability to travel and to integrate, it's just really, really, I'm very optimistic.
So Ryan, what's next for you? What do you see? Do you see Acres of Love with 500 kids, with 1,000 kids? I mean, what is the dream?
Well, the dream has always been 1,000 homes. And we're now scaling up our model and the replication of our model program to where we are establishing a region, which is 5 homes. So we can, we used to buy 1 home at a time. Now we're going to just go in and buy 5. So that means we can spread out nationwide.
Right.
We are very optimistic that we'll reach that goal in our lifetime. Right now there are 2 million kids that have got no parents.
In Africa?
In South Africa.
In South Africa.
13 million in sub-Saharan Africa.
Without parents?
That have lost one or both parents.
So our dream, and this is the selfish business dream, and we say this all the time, is that when we see these kids, whether we see them in Quito, Ecuador, which we were just in Quito about a month and a half ago, and the plight of the kids on the street sniffing glue in Quito, Ecuador it's just an awful situation. And we actually bought a home, a facility for the next Casa Herbalife in Quito. They had a 1-bedroom facility with 20 kids in it. If you can imagine, from what you know, managing that. But the dream for us is to see an Herbalife president's team member, somebody who's risen up in the Herbalife ranks, come out of Acres of Love, come out of these places, because we want them to know that when we're giving back, and we want them to practice the same thing, because there's going to be a diplomat, a millionaire, a something come out of Acres of Love. It's inevitable. Yeah. You're teaching, you're educating, you're giving them love, and hopefully they will hold on to the give back that was given to them. Yeah. On their side. You see that?
Absolutely. I
mean, your oldest kids are now, 14 years old?
Right. In fact, Elias is 16 because he was already
2 when he came in.
Yeah. Your business model is the ultimate entrepreneurial model. I mean, not only because you are proactive in nutrition, which is really a huge need in the world, but how you distribute is so very creative, and it brings it down to the grassroots level. And that is why I'm optimistic that our kids will be very proactive in Herbalife and as distributors, because we see that as the future, as opposed to the old model, which is go to college and be guaranteed a job.
That's not working so well anymore.
No, it's not working. It has been working for about 15, 20 years in South Africa. So the entrepreneurial flair is actually pretty aggressive in South Africa.
Well, interestingly, tomorrow night we have what is called a new Prez Team dinner here. Prez Team is a very high level in the marketing plan. People who have worked usually a minimum of 7 years to kind of get to that level, and their earnings are sizable. They have comfortable lives, but most of these people came from very humble backgrounds. And tomorrow night we have a couple from Lesotho, and I said that wrong probably.
Lesotho.
Yeah. Lesotho, who have started nutrition clubs there, who have started clubs in Lesotho, and have risen to Prez Team. And they are this, African couple who have done this amazing thing in their community. And we see that as a method that's going to spread, because what it does, it's the old adage of I'd rather teach you to fish than just give you fish. Exactly. And so we're giving people the opportunity to have an income, to advance nutrition in a positive way. And the nutrition world, unfortunately, is very political. And We don't want it to be political. We just want it to be good calories, good vitamins, good minerals, good proteins, give people a healthy chance at life.
Right.
The ultimate goal of this company is to be a powerful nutrition force, a powerful economic force, and a powerful social good force on the earth.
Right.
And we're getting there. I mean, we're growing and we're prospering, and with people like you doing what you're doing, this partnership will continue to be a beautiful thing.
I agree. We're at the front lines. We're able to go in and proactively solve the problem of really what is just a bottom line socioeconomic disaster. That's really when you look at the plight of orphans and abandoned kids around the world, because that is our niche. Then the root problem for that is the lack of opportunity, socioeconomic, and so Herbalife solves that problem through your business model, but also through the opportunities you're creating at the grassroots level. So there's a lot of synergy, and I agree with you. I think it's a complex problem, but we can solve it.
Well, keep your ideas coming at us. It's been fabulous to have you here. You know, I don't know if you all can feel this guy's heart and see the twinkle in his eye, but you know, my mother's adage was, to those who are given much, much is expected. And I heard that maybe every day in my life. Maybe twice on some days. Sometimes sitting on the stairwell with a finger in my face, I heard that. But it is really wonderful to have you here. It's wonderful that you're part of the Herbalife family and that we're part of your family. That Acres of Love has done an incredible thing and continues to do incredible things to change people's lives. And that's what we're doing here at Herbalife. So if there's any legacy that this management team is going to leave, is that we're going to make a difference in Africa. And I'm not leaving here until we do. So
thank you. I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. A pleasure to have you.
Thanks, Michael.